Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. My name is David, this is David K Reacts, and today I'm going to be engaging in what I understand is something of a rite of passage amongst reactors, or at least that's the phrase that was used by one comment requesting it, and that is Disturbed's iteration of The Sound of Silence, originally by Paul Simon and Art Garfunkel. I'm very intrigued to hear what they do with this, because you say Disturbed to me and I just immediately think, wah! And associated kind of things. And this, of course, is a very much more reserved piece of music, so I'll be interested to see what they've done with it. The song itself has an interesting history, as so many of these do. I was looking this up, and one of the things that fascinated me about it, because one thing I did know was that when they wrote it originally, it just crashed and burned. It was a complete commercial failure, and it sort of started. It was one of those things that went straight down. It was like a roller coaster. It went straight down and then started crawling back up again very slowly, and it got some airplay in the US, and it actually led to the song's producer. I think it was the song's producer. Reworking it with electric instruments and a new drum track underneath and all that sort of thing, and that version just absolutely blew the other one out of the water. It went to number one on the US Billboard Hot 100. It shot up elsewhere. And it actually, Simon and Garfunkel had broken up. And it led to them coming back together again in a bit of a hurry and releasing an album called The Sounds of Silence. So if you ever hear someone mispronounce the title of this song with a plural, that's because they're thinking of the album that followed it, which did then have, just to confuse things even more, the electric version of The Sound of Silence was on that. The acoustic version was on an album called Wednesday Morning 3 a.m. I mean, what what a turnaround to go from a song that didn't succeed. And actually, if you listen to the original version, it's beautiful. I'll link to both down below so you can listen to and compare. To go to something that hit the top 100 in January of '66, which was it was 2 calendar years later. It was just over a year, I think. It was winter '64 that the original was released. But that's just bananas. Then, of course, it went into The Graduate, and I think that kind of sealed it into history. This is crazy. To have such a fall from grace and then an uprise to the point where the band split apart because of the song, and then immediately, well, not immediately, but as soon as the remix of the same song came out, reformed again. That's a lot. Simon apparently wrote the lyrics. He used to sit in his bathroom, which I don't know if you've probably experienced this, if you've ever sung in the shower or something like that. Tiled bathrooms are wonderful for singing because they echo, and so they give you this lovely little bit of reverb, and he used to enjoy that, and he turned the taps on the bath because the sound calmed him down, and he turned the lights out, and he wrote this song. And according to him, I had to look this up because I knew there was a quote about it. Garfunkel introduced a live performance in Harlem in June '66 by saying the song's meaning was, quote, the inability of people to communicate with each other, not particularly intentionally, but especially emotionally. So what you see around you are people unable to love each other. Which is very sad. And also quite astute, I think. And I wonder what the view would be on our social media world, where so much interaction happens online, and we're head down in our phones all the time. Anyway, so that's the history of this song. It was recorded in D sharp minor originally, and the Disturbed version actually changes that. David Draiman sings it in F sharp minor, I believe. And the idea with this was he was writing it to pay tribute to what he described in a response to Paul Simon as the brilliance of one of the greatest songwriters of all time. Sorry, I just wrote these quotes down here to remind myself. Because Simon basically, said great job. He sent them a message that said, really powerful performance on Conan the other day, because they performed it live. First time I've seen you do it live. Nice, thanks. Getting words like that from someone who you've written you've penned an iteration of a song just to honor that person must have been an extraordinary moment for the group. So, yeah. Let's see what they've done with it. The original, of course, guitars, quite a twangy sound because that was the time. And this very ethereal vocal with sort of almost slightly dissonant harmonies at some point because they're almost trying to find the harmony, I always feel, listening to the original song. Disturbed could be very different. I have no idea what to expect with this, but I am looking forward to finding out. I think Dryman's voice, he has this very operatic style at points, and yet also, very metal. Pardon me, coughing fit. Better now. This very metal voice. So I'm fascinated to know what he does with this because he has the theory and the experience and the quality in his voice to make this relatively sort of representative of the original. Yet I feel like they're going to do more with it. Anyway, I'm just speculating now. Let's jump in without any further delay. First of all, of course, welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you haven't been here before. The way things work here is I'm going to watch this video straight through. I'm going to comment. I'm going to emote over the top of it, but I won't stop it or anything like that. Then I will go back. I will watch it again. I will interrupt. I will pause, and I will offer commentary and analysis on whatever I hear and see. Excuse me, I have hiccups. I apologize. Please do like the video if you've enjoyed it. Do hit that subscribe button. It's free for you, but it does wonders for me. Hit the notification bell to be alerted each time one of my videos comes out. And if you'd care to, head over to buymeacoffee.com/DavidKReacts, and you can support the channel there and also contribute to items on my wish list, which are directly going to benefit this channel and my ability to produce quality videos. And I do just want to take a moment, actually, while I'm here. I do have a couple of thanks to offer. I did want to thank someone who has contributed to my microphone I'm looking to get, to Dominique, who has actually fulfilled the funding for the booms that I'm going to get for that microphone, and also to Grammar Jedi 01, who just bought me several coffees as well. Thank you all. I really appreciate the support of the channel and my work. And now, without any further delay, let us dive in to Disturbed covering The Sound of Silence. Also notable, I realise this is 50 years since the original song, well, yeah, since it was released. It was 1965, I think, that the revised version came out, and 2015 that Disturbed covered it, so that's kind of cool. Anyway, here we go. That's eerie.
My old friend,
that's very
come to talk with you again, because a vision softly creeping left its scenes while I was sleeping, and the vision
oh wow
was planted in my brain still remains within the sound of silence.
Oh, the airy quality in the voice is perfect. Is this fully acoustic? Oh, I love this.
I turn my collar to the cold and damp.
That's nice.
When my eyes were stabbed by the flash of a neon light that split the night and touched the sound of silence.
This is so
And
powerful.
in the naked light I saw 10,000 people, maybe more. People talking without speaking. People hearing without listening. People writing songs and voices never shared. And no one dared disturb the sound of silence. Fool said I, you do not know. Silence like a cancer grows.
This is so
Hear
personal.
my words that I might teach you. Take my arms and I might reach you. But my words, like silent raindrops, fell and echoed in the wells of silence. And the people bowed and prayed to
It's
the
like
neon
raw emotion in a
gods
video.
they made. And the sign flashed out its warning, and the words that it was forming. And the sign said the words of the prophets are written on the subway walls and tenement halls, and whispered in the sound
Wow.
of silence.
Oh goodness. I thought I'd stop that. Okay, that was extraordinary. I don't know what I was expecting. That was so kind of perfect for for Disturbed and for the song. Wow, I am... There's like a frisson running through me that is not stopping. I'm just chills all over. That's powerful. That's honestly, like I said in the middle of that, that's just raw emotion as a song. The editing of that video is extraordinary. The fact that we see so much of David's face being, you know, right there with you the whole time is amazing. It draws you in. It makes this incredibly unique in terms of how I've ever seen this. I've seen a few versions of this song. I'm genuinely quite surprised I'd never seen this one before. But seeing it so close up and seeing it so raw is amazing. Woo! Okay. I need to go back and look at this because that's just extraordinary. Let's go back and see what I can see. Okay, I knew I was going to do that. Oh, why did I even bother playing it? This as a starting point. Instruments broken on the ground, or at least apparently. I can't see if they're broken, but I assume they are. That's a strong start for a piece of music. especially because we're going to hear all of these instruments, I think, or at least versions of them. There's a statement right there. None of them is playing, none of them is being played. And note, we start the song in absolute silence. There is that noise in the background. That's my furnace going. That's not the video. There is complete silence. To the point where I was literally about to open my mouth and say, whoops, did I mute the video? And then the music started. Also, this huge contrast between black and white. It's all we've got, but it's not a gentle grading. Like the front of that guitar, the harp, parts of the piano, you can't see because of how absolutely black they are. The absence of light in those parts of the frame. I imagine if I brightened this up super, super high, you could almost see them. And actually, if I shift around a little and look from slightly different angles and have the light bounce off my monitor in slightly different ways, I can see the details. But to all intents and purposes, they're not there. And that silhouette that's there is just extraordinary. What a very, very sort of loud image to start a completely silent song with. And then it fades away. Oh. I did mute the video to get the ad out of the way. I was going to say. But still. Nothing happened. That first shot, now that we're hearing it properly. Fade in. Instruments, silhouette, silence, fade out. Nothing else happens. There is no sound in there until we come up on this shot now. And now we hear the music. And we hear a piano playing over the visual of a broken and burning piano. When you think about the meaning of this song, people's inability to communicate, what does it say that we're seeing an instrument, or we're hearing an instrument played that we are watching burn in front of us? One, it hurts my soul to see a piano burning. But that's an incredible message right there.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
That is incredible too. We have that beautiful piano intro played over that image, and then it fades out and nothing else has happened other than the piano, and then we get these lyrics and we fade in on David's face so dark that we almost can't see it, and this same contrast of clouds behind, so you do have that white surrounding the head but effectively backlighting it so that it makes it even harder to see. That's a really, really excellent choice in terms of lighting in this video. And of course, coming in on Hello Darkness, you know, he's in darkness. It's almost like we could be saying that to him just as much as he is saying that to us in the words that he's singing. And then just through this, we get this very gradual lightening throughout the video so that we see more and more of his face before it starts to fade again. The aesthetic of this video is top-notch.
I've come to talk with you again.
Let's go back on that. His voice quality here is really interesting too.
Come to my old. Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you.
So interesting there. I've come to talk with you. It's quite airy, like I was saying before, but it's so reserved. Look at how little his mouth is moving. It's not hello darkness, my old friend. Hello darkness, my old friend. It's almost like it's being sung through gritted teeth, but it's not. It's just something adjacent to that. And then when he gets to the U, there's just a little creak. Come to talk to you again. And it's starting, you get that hint so early on of where this is going to go in his vocal quality, but he's still retaining it in that very controlled, tight sound. I also love that we have just the 2 rings here being highlighted by a light that isn't even picking up his face yet. That's quite extraordinary too. I'm guessing that was a deliberate choice, and my goodness, the lighting, how careful they'd have had to be with the lighting to actually achieve that. This is even worse! Now we can see the strings! Oh my goodness, this hurts to look at. But again, we just have this piano and we're still seeing it burning. Not only burning now, but shattered in more than one place. It's just the visual they've chosen to go with this is so strong.
You again, because a vision softly creeping left its seeds while I was sleeping.
Interesting here. It's the way he's choosing to sing notes. Left its seeds while I was enunciated, clear, and then sleeping. We almost don't hear. There's no P in sleeping. It's such an interesting choice. I heard that passing through the first time, but I was too enthralled with what was going on to pick up on it, and sort of even so much as raise an eyebrow, I think. But that's a fascinating choice. I also love here, we can see now we're starting to get more light coming onto the center of his face. I'm wondering how they did this. Because it's not lighting him in totality. I'm wondering if they used like a pin spot and widened it as they were going, or something like that. Or is it just that the light's coming up so slowly that it's only picking up the very, very front of his face? Because that's a very unique technique there. It's giving me vibes, actually, of Marlon Brando in Apocalypse Now, where you're only seeing... I think the fact that David's bald probably adds to that as well. But like you're only seeing so much of his face at any given moment. Here it's not, it's not, we're seeing turning and different angles, and you see the famous where he's kind of rubbing his head. We're not getting that, but we are just getting this very still face that is so precisely lit.
A vision softly creeping.
There's a bit of a P there, but here it's just not there. Notice, on vision, he opens his eyes. No coincidence that. No coincidence at all. We haven't seen those eyes yet, which was a great choice because eyes are whiter than anything else in the face. And so if his eyes were open, that would have been a point of increased contrast in the video. So by keeping them closed, he was keeping that tone consistent across his face. And now by opening them, we've now got... And we've zoomed in too. We've had this crash zoom into being much closer up to his face with this much more intense expression as we go into this next line of the song. This is... Oh my goodness, this is wonderful.
That was planted in my brain still remains within.
Even his cut-offs at the end still remains. There's almost no vocalization, no N of remains left when the S comes in. It's so withdrawn. It's so pulled back. And he's forcing us, and the camera's doing it too. As the camera pushes in on him, we're kind of being pulled with it because his voice is pulling us back. The camera's forcing us closer to him. This is cinematic genius right now. This is such a good video.
Still remains.
I also love that shot.
Still remains.
We can see, I like that we're getting the reflection on the drum skin. That's kind of cool. We've also got you can see a little bit of detail on the drum itself, and yet the hands are in darkness. We don't know who's reaching for the drum yet. It's keeping this anonymity of everybody except David, which is fascinating. This is so good. Excuse me for 1 second. Sorry, the one problem of doing such long videos, it's difficult to get through one without an interruption. Anyway, where was I? Yes.
Within the sound of silence, in restless dreams I walked alone.
Even and right up to the end of that verse, the sound of silence. There's so little movement. The lip is barely opening at any point. It's very, very reserved. And then by walked alone, we're getting more of a full supported voice there. Not actually, he's not unsupported when he's doing it earlier, but just more of a powerful, potent sound. He's putting more full voice into it, keep losing some of that airy quality as we come in now with the introduction of a different instrument. Notice that we are seeing that instrument on screen as it begins to play as well. This is great.
In restless dreams I walked alone, narrow streets of cobblestone.
Notice how dark this all is, the musically I'm speaking. Like that chord that the guitar comes in on, it's low, it's a little muddy almost, but deliberately so. It's not muddy through poor playing or anything like that. It's a very deliberate choice there to have that with these dark notes in the piano.
In restless dreams I walked alone.
Also, it's a downward chord. It's gone from the upper notes. That's, if you're watching somebody play the guitar, you see a lot of down, you see them strumming like this, but when you see big chords played, it will be the arm going up to down. That's starting with the lowest strings, going to the highest strings. This is in reverse. He's pulled upwards, so we've hit the highest strings first, and the chord rolls downwards, which gives it a darker tone than it would do if we were finishing on the higher notes. It's a really nice choice.
In restless dreams I walked alone, narrow streets of cobblestone.
Note how that the piano is also dropped as well. We're getting that in a lower register. It's darkening the sound, and it's actually kind of leaving the vocals a little more solitary. They're a bit more split from the remainder of the arrangement, but the guitar is staying a little closer, and we've got these nice little riffs too, sort of going on there. A little bit more motion now. We're not just sort of moving around these chords. You could imagine. My goodness, what's the keyboards player's name? Dan. You can imagine Dan kind of just moving his hands very gently without really, there's none of this going on. He's not kind of traversing the piano in that first verse. It's all very close together. And now he's just dropped down and he's still not moving much. Even the guitar isn't moving a lot, but there's a little more motion to it just because it's the one that's got those riffs and things like that. Oh my goodness, I can't get over how good this is.
Neath the halo, narrow streets of cobblestone.
Also, very deliberate choice there to have the double basses come in with those bottom notes. Maybe some low cellos as well, it's hard to say. But it's all very murky. It's deliberately being kept low. There's nothing other than the guitar and the vocals higher in the mix to give us levity at this point. This is very serious. It's very dark. We have this beautiful image of just the lone guitarist. I assume this is Dan. I'm not very good at recognizing them. I know who they are. But just kind of walking through this wilderness of decaying and lifeless trees in this very strong silhouette once again. The shadow, the use of shadow in this is just as strong in the music and the visuals.
Neath the halo of a street lamp.
I love this look on Mike too. Again, I'm assuming this is Mike. David's the only one I recognize on site. But I love that we're down below him, which usually, when you're filming down to somebody, filming up at somebody from below, and they're looking down, it's a shot of power. It gives them the strength in that shot, because they are looking down. It's the other way round. If the camera's looking down on them, it's more supplication, weakness, submissiveness. Here it's domination, it's strength. Except that's not really what we're getting from this shot. It's such an interesting choice. The drum and Mike's arm are significantly more prominent in the shot than his face is. He's not looking at the camera, he's looking off to one side. It's almost giving us more of a sense of being lost, of not really knowing where we're going, because we can't see what he's seeing, and he's not looking at us with any degree of confidence. And the only thing we have as a point of reference is the drum. Everything else is this sky that's behind him, which is telling us nothing. And that's a great decision, because it's turned what is a fairly kind of standard camera technique of looking up at somebody for power. It's turned it on its head, and now we're looking up at him. We don't really know what's happening. So good.
I turn my collar to the cold and damp.
I love the little bit of license that David's taken there with what he's singing. That's a really nice change. At least I'm pretty sure it's a change. I haven't heard the original of this for a while. I listened to it once quickly before this, but that's not really enough to ram it back into my head. But I don't think they really change what they're doing. I think they do the same thing 3 times. So this, I turn my collar to the cold street lamp. Like, there's just a little bit there of uniqueness. It's making it their own arrangement. But it hasn't taken away at all from what was there before. Sure, it's not the same melody, but it's so close in style that, it doesn't matter. And now we get this lovely shot of Mike, just as we did with Dan. Very, very similar look. With these trees, except he's walking into even more darkness. Like this side of the screen now, sorry, reverse, right. This side of the screen where he's walking into it is so much darker. And it's kind of, it's all obfuscation and shadows and, is there some trickery? Is what is he walking into? Do we know? Or is it simply a dark forest? It's great. And I love the resonance we're getting from the instruments here. We've now gone into the cello range. You can hear that ma there. There's that note's being played just as I paused it. We've got some cellos coming in. We're starting to crawl upwards in the register that the orchestra's playing. We're widening those frequencies.
I turn my collar to the cold and damp.
We don't have any drums yet, but that dum dum, those 2 chords there, they almost feel percussive in the way that they're being played, because they're giving some moment of marking time. They're giving some kind of pace to it. It's not pacing up at all, but it's just there's a mark there. We're getting a little bit more consistent recognition of that than we get earlier in the song. This is, oh my goodness, this is so good.
Collar to the cold and damp. When my eyes were stabbed by the flash of a neon light.
Oh, that's so... Oh, wow. Lovely things going. So now we got violins coming in, I think, or maybe violas. Everything's crawling up again. No, I want to go back on that.
When my eyes were stabbed by the flash of...
There, right there. The boom, boom. That note's being played underneath all of this, but that note's still being played down there. The darkness of that, when we're getting harmony in the bass, it's not being spread. It's so tight together that it's still pulling in that murkiness, even as other elements are right. We're getting higher notes from the piano, a little bit higher from the guitar. There's even something like there's a levity to those lyrics of "Stabbed by a Neon Light." It's light. We're singing about light for a second.
When my eyes were stabbed.
Now, eyes are being stabbed by it. That's not necessarily a good thing. That's pain, that's suddenness, that's shock. But light is something we haven't really sung about in this. That's the point I'm getting at.
By the flash of a neon light.
And it's not until we hit light and the bass comes up, we actually resolve into something that sounds just a little bit cleaner and more secure. The voicing in this is so brilliant.
Let's split of a neon light. Let's split the night.
That progression there. Ooh.
Flash of a neon light that split the night.
Oh, sorry, it's not.
That split the night.
That there. That's extraordinary because there's so much motion in that bass line and it changes the tonality of everything that is happening above it. This is why your rhythm section in a band is so important. You can do without it, yes, and it gives you a very different texture and feel. But that shift there between those notes as the bass climbs up, and it doesn't climb up, you'd expect that the bum bum, you almost expect it to go the bum bum, something like that. But it doesn't. It goes, yeah. Boom, boom, boom. We actually have a 5/1 resolution into the minor key there that then progresses up from the relative minor to the relative major. Ugh!
And touch the sound of silence. And in
That's so good too. The sound, boom, boom, of side, dee, 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 dee. That choice to have sound with the big booming piano notes, and then the of silence to have that upper little motif there. That's brilliant. And then we much more heavily come in on this next section.
of silence. And in the naked light I saw.
There's so much to talk about in it. I'm going to miss a ton of stuff just because there's no way I can go over all of this. That, again, that bass, I'm fascinated now. Now that I've heard it, now that I've clocked it, what they're doing with the bass in this.
Of silence. And in the naked light I
Bum, 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 bum. That's a fascinating progression going on down there that's being supported by the chords that are going above it. And then the resolution down. Bum, 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 bum. And we just resolve right back down to where we'd come from. So it's an extended progression to a note that we actually pass through on the way back to it. That's brilliant. Love it.
and in the naked light I saw.
And now the strings are much fuller. We've got like a full pad of strings or a section. I don't know whether they did this digitally or analog. But we've got a much fuller sound going on. His voice is louder still. It's even fuller than it was. And he's crept up from this deep range down here with the airy tone. Now he's here. It's much fuller. That's evolution, people. I talk about it all the time, and there's a reason why, because it's great. It's so good for keeping interest. This is why songs are successful, is because they don't do one thing too much. They go places, whether it's in the lyrics, the music, the style, genre, any of the above or all of the above. Successful songs do stuff.
And in the naked light I saw 10,000 people, maybe more.
Again, interesting pronunciation. 10,000 people. It's very accurate. And then this maybe more, maybe more. It's like he's shifting between two styles a little bit as he goes. It's interesting. This is such a potent image. My first thought was that it was people in servitude, like bowed down, but then you realize there's a couple lying on their backs, and then we get closer to them and realize they're reading. They're doing things in a completely solitary fashion. They're not flat. They're not, there's some sort of verticality to them. They're off the ground, or they're lying on their back with their arms up and their legs crossed, as we can see about 6 people in from the left. So they can. It's not hard to see that there are people there, but they're all doing something in their own little world. Like this shot right here, for me, is the most like hammering the nail, the most obviously as to what the message of this original song is. It's extraordinary.
10,000 people, maybe
Also, an interesting choice here is how fast the clouds are moving. It gives a sense of the passage of time. You know, it's unusual to see clouds moving that fast, so we can surmise they're moving quickly. And therefore, or rather, the time is moving quickly for them to be moving that fast. And so there's time passing, and yet these people are doing nothing. They're locked in their own little worlds.
People maybe more. People talking without speaking.
There too, two faces murmuring the words from the book they're reading or writing. Are they writing the music, as we see later on? Whatever it is they're doing. And yet they very deliberately... Let's just get back to that shot. We're not seeing the full face. We're seeing this kind of amalgam of two people. And yet they're facing away from each other. There's no conversation going on here. The fact that the heads are kind of coming out of the clouds because everything outside of their direct vision is fog. That's what the song is saying. Woohoo! This is strong stuff.
Talking without speaking. People hear.
And then we see this. The person's arm is almost see-through because we can see the clouds through it. They're not moving when the arm moves. That's not a tattoo or something like that. You know, we're almost invisible because we're so engrossed in what we're doing. Oh, I cannot get over how good this video is.
Hearing without listening. People riding.
I was trying to work out... They might actually be writing the music for The Sound of Silence. I need to see a little bit more of it. But the da 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 da. Not quite, I don't think.
Songs and voices never share. And no one dare disturb.
There's some interesting things. I also love this little break they've got here. And no one dare disturb the sound. We have a moment of silence there. We have a moment of no singing. That's cool. But I love that we have this literally. People writing songs that voices never share. We actually see them physically writing music. It's very literal, but it doesn't matter. It's very effective for the song. We're now seeing a lot more of David here as well. In extreme detail, like he's very well lit, he's very clear, but everything behind him is foggy. So even he's on his own right now, even as he's trying to share this song. That's also a really good note. Voices, no one. Like, his range is significant in this song. Not sure what it is, but, you know, hello, darkness, my old friend, from all the way down there. Voices! He's gone way up compared to where he was before.
Never share. And no one dare.
Notice his mouth. No one dare. It's not dare. It's not a wide open, but it's not no one dare, which is what it would have been before. Now it's dare. He's opening his mouth more. He's using it to project more. We're getting more sound. There's more motion in his face. Yeah.
Disturb the sound.
This, for a split second, my brain interpolated the blade of grass that's sort of in the crook down here. My mind interpreted that as a man, and I thought there was something here about this giant looming over. I don't know why, but I love that it's not that. I was going to say it was a little bit ham-fisted, but they've also got this lovely view here where we just have this clear silhouette of a person. We're seeing them kind of like the way we saw that whole row of people on the hills, but now really, really close up. This is so lovely.
Of silence. Fool said I, you do not know. Silence like a cancer grows.
Now we're getting some real motion from his face. This very, very clear fool, I said. But notice he's tilted his head down a little bit now. We're not seeing him quite as straight on as we were, which you can actually tell if I just turn the captions off for a second. You can tell by the fact that the rings aren't lit. He's dipped his head down as well. So we're getting this much more... this is another trick. If the camera is focusing straight on somebody and then they tilt their head down, they will tend to look angrier or more aggressive. It's a good little trick for camera techniques, especially if they furrow their brow like he's doing here and you get the crinkle in the nose. There's a lot here of like he's putting in the aggression of, you know, the frustration that you're feeling if you're singing these words. It's great. Oh, there's I think that might actually be the sound of silence that they've just written out. It's murky, but I think it might be. There! Oh, that's so nice. Just that, the gentle lifting of the eyebrows there, it's like, it's not just aggression, it is frustration and it's concern. That's lovely. We're getting so... This is why I said it was raw emotion on screen. We're getting so much from his facial expressions. He's doing so much. And it's so little. Like, that's the difference between this and just a gentle lift of the eyebrow. But it's changed how you hear those last couple of words.
Hear my words that
And then I love we get this dum dum. It seems very aggressive, the way that Mike is playing the drum there, but it's the sound, the timpani that we're actually hearing are way further in the back. Like, it's not like boom boom, which you, especially given that that's the focus of that shot, you might expect. Everything is still being kept at a distance. We're just focusing so much on the voice, and I love it. That's a powerful shot too. Now that everybody's standing holding their piece of sheet music, and yet the guitar that might play it with them is across a lake. You know, he's coming in. We see at the very end there the boat coming towards the shore, but there's still distance there, even as they're trying to close the gap. They can't reach him from there. Like, take my arms that I might reach you. They can't. Not right now. Oh, that little rock grab. Silent! I can't do it. But it's not silent raindrops. It's not clean. There's a rasp in there that gives it a little bit of kind of more vulnerability and desperation. Note that the two, also here, the two kids aren't even holding hands, which you might expect from a shot like this. Like, everything, there's distance in everything. Interesting there that we have this shot here where Mike is actually walking past Dan, even as Dan's the one who's actually playing. His image in this is still, and then we see them standing together, and there's a little motion from both of them. I like this fascinating things about passing each other and yet trying to keep up and all that sort of thing, that I'm probably reading into way too deep with some of this, but it's just feeding so many ideas into my head. It's such a simple video to be pushing out so many concepts. And oh, that shot. It's like the ghost stories around the campfire, isn't it? It's like there's a light right here that's just shining up. We've got the face, the nose, the creases at the corner of the mouth, and the lower eyelids and the underside of the arch of the eyes only, and then just a smattering of the forehead. But we can't see the top of the eyebrows. You can barely see the cheeks. It's the specificity of seeing just, and the eyes so white. Like, they're now not the whitest thing because of the way he's being lit, but they're still piercing into you as he looks at the camera. It must have been, being the cameraman for the close-up of David here must have been a seriously intense experience. Just saying. You feel it when you're doing something like this.
echoed in the wells of silence, and the people bowing.
I love too that we've got this effect here where the fog is fading away, but we still can't see details. We can see the shadows now in the lake. There's some aspect of that, but we can't see who these people are. They're still in shadow. We can see these pieces of music. They're standing out, but not the people, because they're not sharing their songs yet. This too, this kind of thunder, this aggression, this fury almost that's in David's face now. He's almost being blown out by the lighting. Like it would be too bright if this were just on. If it weren't an effect, it would be too bright. This would be bad. Well, it would be bad camera theory unless you were deliberately trying to do it for a very specific purpose. But it's so powerful, flashing across his face. Ah! And then you have... You have sections where you can barely see him. Now we can't even see the whites in his eyes, because the lighting is so harsh on his forehead and his nose, and that's all we can see. We can't even see his mouth singing the words, because he's making this point of the neon god. Light. Like, it's... Ah! Oh, that pause there. The neon. It's not to the neon god they made. It's not straight on. To the neon god they made. That break there makes the they made. That's the emphasis. To the neon god they made. Not to the neon god they made. They made. That's the fury. They did this to themselves. Oh, this is hard not to get caught up in. My goodness. To the neon god they made. You can even see it, and there's a slight twitch. Neon god they made. I'm exaggerating it, but... To the neon god they made. Just a gentle shift. And the sign flashed out his warning, and the words that it was forming. I love that every time we see him in a slightly different light. This is extraordinary. It's this sense that it's constantly playing over him in different ways. And now this shot here, the musicians, the sounds that we're hearing on one side are completely apart from the figures on the opposite shore holding the sheet music. It's like they can't play without the music and they can't sing without the music. And yet the figures on that far shore, the people, are so small by comparison. These people who want to play their music are so much bigger than them, and they're just little and not, they're not engaging. They're not at the same level as those who are coming to them, and that's what they're trying to teach. Come up to our level. In the signs and the words on the prophets are written on the subway walls. It's a very revealing, like you can see the saliva in his mouth as he's singing, like it's this close up. There's nothing polished. I mean, it's extremely polished. It's a beautiful shot. But there's nothing polished about the look that he's creating there. It is just... It's all this pent-up feeling being blasted out in a song. They say in musical theatre, you sing when the emotions are so high that speech doesn't convey it anymore. And that's where David is right now. He is singing because these are not words that could be said. Ah! In the signs and the words on the prophets are written on the subway walls, in tenement halls, and whispered in the sun. It's those lyrics have I always think are so, they're written in the subway walls and in those tenement halls. It's like, they're right there. They're in front of you every single day. and whispered. They're only ever whispered in The Sound of Silence. Also interesting, again, just coming back to pronunciation for a second. Whispered. It's like he's got this kind of country thing that creeps into his voice now and then. And there, we don't get silence. That's such a good choice. Like, sound of silence. You could see that being what they want to do, but you get the echo. It's so good because silence is never silent. Or almost never. Unless you're in a sensory deprivation tank or something like that. Sound is almost never silent. Sorry, silence is almost never silent. Again, you almost don't hear the P in prophets. The words of the prophets. Almost.
Tenement halls and whisper in the sound of silence.
That is magnificent. You never see the boat reach the shore. You never quite see the faces of the musicians, really. This is so brilliant. What a video. What a video, what a song, what an arrangement of the song. Like, I don't know what I was coming in for today, but that has surpassed my expectations on so many levels. That's amazing. That is, if you want a masterclass in singing emotion, just watch David throughout that. Wow. I am somehow both fired up and at the same time kind of like, what is the world? That was great. That was really, really good. I hope that you enjoyed that as much as I did, because that surpassed everything I thought it was going to be. Seriously, thank you. Did I actually name people? I don't think I did. I finally got my spreadsheet in order. So I do want to throw out a thanks to Ellen Reiser, Danger Puddle, and Virginia Small, all of whom recommended this towards the end of last year. I think probably a couple of people since then, but they were the ones who kind of spurred it onto the list and really reinforced its presence there. This was brilliant. I'm really, really glad that I reacted to this today. That's going on the playlist for sure. What a rendition. I'm not surprised that Paul Simon wrote and said, that's amazing. Because, wow. That is so good. So good. I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you so much for being with me today as I watched this. I hope that I maybe brought something to your appreciation of the video, or brought the video to you if you hadn't seen it before. Brought the song to you if you hadn't heard it before. Whatever it happens to be. I really appreciate you being here with me. Please do like the video if you enjoyed, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and if you would care to, please do head over to buymeacoffee.com/DavidKReacts, where you can donate to support the channel. I will be having more videos coming your way very shortly. Have a lovely afternoon, evening, morning, tea time, I don't know, whatever time it is, gin o'clock. And take care of yourself, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye for now.